Here's the third instalment of The Owl Who Was Afraid of the Dark. Can you remember who Plop was talking to yesterday? He met a Boy Scout around a campfire, and can you remember how the Boy Scout described the dark? He said, "Dark is fun." And in the next chapter, it's called Dark is Necessary. Plop asked, "What's next?" a great many times during that night. He sat just outside the nest hole making loud snoring noises. He was not asleep, just hungry. Owls always snore when they're hungry. "Oh, Plop, I shall be glad when you can hunt for yourself," said Mrs. Barn Owl wearily, when Plop had gulped down his 7th, or was it his 8th, dinner. "What's next?" asked Plop. "Nothing," said his mother. "You can't possibly have room for anything else." "I have," said Plop. "My mouse place is full up, but my grasshopper place isn't." That's just too bad," said Mrs. Barn Owl, stretching and settling herself down to roost. Mr. Barn Owl swooped in, clapping his wings. He dropped something at Plop's feet. Plop swallowed it in one gulp. It was deliciously slippery. "That was nice," he said. "What was it?" "A fish," said his father. I like fish," said Plop. "What's next?" "Bed," said Mr. Barn Owl. He kissed his wife good night, or good day, I suppose, and settled himself to roost. Plop made a few hopeful snoring noises, but it was clear that the feast was over. He wobbled into the nest hole and was soon fast asleep himself. It was well into the afternoon when he woke up. He came out onto the landing branch and looked around. His parents were still drawn up as still as carvings, but the squirrels from downstairs were chasing each other up and down the trunk, their tails flying behind them. Plop watched them for a bit. One of them scuttled along the branch just below Plop's and then stopped abruptly and started to wash his face. He didn't know that Plop was there. After all, owls are supposed to be asleep during the daytime. Plop could not resist it. He bent down through the leaves and let out his very loudest eek. The squirrel jumped into the air like a jack-in-the-box, his ears a quiver and his eyes like marbles. He flashed down the trunk and vanished into his hole. Plop jumped up and down with delight. But of course, he'd done it again. He'd woken his mother. "Plop!" "Yes, Mummy?" "Go and find out some more about the dark, please, dear." "Now?" said Plop. "Now," said his mother. "Go and ask that little girl what she thinks about it." "What little girl?" "That little girl sitting down there, the one with the ponytail." "Little girls don't have tails." "This one does. Now go on now or you'll miss her." So Plop shut his eyes, took a deep breath and fell off his branch. His landing was a little better than usual. He bounced 3 times and rolled gently towards the girl's feet. "Oh, a woolly ball!" cried the little girl. "Actually, I'm a barn owl," said the woolly ball. "An owl? Are you sure?" she said, putting out a grubby finger and prodding Flop's round, fluffy tummy. "Quite sure," said Plop, backing away and drawing himself up very tall. "Well, there's no need to be huffy," said the little girl. "You bounced. You must expect to be mistaken for a ball if you will go bouncing about the place. I've never met an owl before. Do you say to-wit-to-woo?" "No," said Plop, "that's tawny owls." "Oh, well, you can't be a proper owl then," said the little girl. "Proper owls say to-wit-to-woo." "I am a proper owl," said Plop, getting very cross. "I'm a barn owl, and barn owls go eek like that." "Oh, don't do that," said the little girl, putting her hands over her ears. "Well, you shouldn't have made me cross," said Plop. "Anyway, you can't be a proper girl." "What did you say?" the little girl, taking her hands off her ears, said. "I said you're not a proper girl. Girls don't have tails. Squirrels have tails. Rabbits have tails. This is a ponytail," said the little girl, "and it's the longest one in the class," she added proudly. "But why do you want to look like a pony?" asked Plop. Because it's the fashion," said the little girl. "Don't you know anything?" "Not much," agreed Plop. "Mummy says that's why I'm afraid of the dark, because I don't know anything about it. Do you like the dark?" The little girl looked at Plop in surprise. "Well, of course I do," she said. "There has to be dark. Dark is necessary." "Dark is water?" Necessary. We need it. We can't do without it. I could do without it, said Plop. I could do without it very nicely. Father Christmas wouldn't come, said the little girl. You'll have an empty stocking on Christmas Day. I don't wear stockings, said Plop. And who's Father Christmas? Well, Father Christmas is a fat, jolly old man with a white beard, and he wears a red suit with a matching hat and black boots. Is that the fashion? Asked Plop. No, said the little girl. It's just what he always wears in pictures of him. Although I don't know anybody knows because nobody's actually ever seen him. What? Said Plop. Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Father Christmas only comes in the dark. He comes in the middle of the night, riding through the sky on a sledge pulled by reindeer. Deer? Asked Plop. In the sky? Magic, dear, said the little girl. Everything about Father Christmas is magic. Otherwise, he couldn't possibly get round to all the children in the world in one night, or have enough toys for them all in his sack. You didn't tell me about his sack. He has a sack full of toys and he puts them in the children's stockings. In their stockings? With their feet in them? There can't be much room. No, silly. We hang the empty stockings at the ends of our beds for him to fill. I usually borrow one of Mummy's, but last year I hung up my tights. And did he fill them? Asked Plop. No, only one leg, but he did put a sugar mouse in the other one. I'd rather have had a real mouse, said Plop. So would I, really, said the little girl. I wanted a white mouse, but Mummy says that if a mouse comes into the house, she will leave it, and I suppose Father Christmas didn't want to make me an orphan. Plop was thinking, I don't think that owls have Father Christmas, not barn owls anyway, and I haven't got a stocking to hang up. Oh, what a shame, said the little girl. Everybody should have Father Christmas. It's so exciting, waking up in the morning and feeling all the bumps in your stocking and trying to guess what's in it. Oh, stop it, wailed Plop. I wish you would come to me. Shut your eyes, said the little girl. Go on, shut them, and you may get a surprise. Plop shut his eyes tight and waited. The little girl quickly pulled off her Wellington and took off a sock. She was wearing 2 pairs because the boots were a bit big for her. Open your eyes, she said to Plop, holding up the sock, while she stood on one leg and wriggled her foot back into her Wellington. Plop opened his eyes and then shut them again because he couldn't believe what he saw. Don't you want it? Said the little girl. I know it's a bit holy, but I don't expect Father Christmas will mind. Oh, thank you, said Plop, taking it with his beak and then holding it in his foot. Thank you very much. I'll go and hang it up at once. Not yet, laughed the little girl. You'll have to wait until Christmas Eve. Well, I must go now. It must be nearly tea time. Goodbye. I do hope Father Christmas will come to you. Goodbye, said Plop, bobbing his funny little bow. You are very kind. You're a proper girl. And you have a very nice eek, said the little girl. I'm going to practice it to make my brothers jump. Eek! And she ran off, and Plop could hear her eeking right across the field. Plop picked up the sock in his beak and flew up to the landing branch. Well, said his mother. The little girl says, he began with his mouth full of sock. He put it down and tried again. The little girl says dark is necessary because of Father Christmas coming. And what do you think, Plop? I still don't like it at all, but I'm going to hang this sock up on Christmas Eve. And Plop took his sock and put it away very carefully in a corner of the nest hole, ready for Christmas. The next chapter is called Dark is Fascinating. Plop, having slept nearly all day, was very lively that evening, very lively and very hungry. He kept wobbling along the branch to where his father was roosting to see if by chance he were awake and ready to go hunting. Mr. Barn Owl was drawn up tall and still. He seemed hardly to be breathing. Plop stretched up on tiptoe and tried to see his father's face. What a strong, curved beak he had. Daddy, are you awake? He said loudly. I'm hungry. Mr. Barn Owl didn't open his eyes, but the beak moved. Go away, I'm asleep. Plop went away obediently and then realised something and went back again. Daddy, you can't be asleep. You spoke. I heard you. You must have imagined it, said his father, still not opening his eyes. You spoke, said Plop. You're awake, so you can go hunting. He butted his father's tummy with his head. Come on, it's getting up time. Mr. Barn Owl sighed and stretched. All right, you horrible owlet. What time is it? He looked up at the sky. Suffering bats, it isn't even dark yet. I could have had another half hour. He glared at Plop. Dash it, I'm going to have another half hour. I will not be bullied by an addled little daybird. Go away. You may wake me when it is dark and not before. Do you understand? He suddenly leaned forward until his huge beak was level with Plop's own little carpet tack. Plop could see two of himself reflected in his father's eyes. Yes, Daddy, he said, backing away hurriedly. Good, said his father, drawing himself up to sleep again. Good day. Plop went back to the nest hole to complain to his mother. A sleepy Mrs. Barn Owl listened sympathetically. Well, dear, I should go and find out some more about the world if I were you, she said. Look, there's a young lady down there. Why don't you go and talk to her? Now, this chapter's called Dark is Fascinating, so I wonder what Plop and the little girl might discuss about the dark. Have a little think, and we'll come back tomorrow and find out a little bit more about the owl who was afraid of the dark.